On May 31st, 2024, I shared my Google document titled, "Here's to Another Situation Blown Out of Proportion," where I detailed the harassment I had received throughout the last 8 months. This was in direct response to an allegation about me that I considered my sister thinking of offing herself as a chore by the person known as Goget. Now, before I go through everything or say anything at all, I want to make it known and make it clear that everything I said in that doc bar a spelling error, something I got mixed up, and things I'll clarify and elaborate on later in this video, I 100% stand by. I understand that I had some choice words, and I apologize in regards to getting emotional within the Google document. It was something that has happened over the course of these last 8 months. I'm not going to ask for forgiveness from anybody, and I certainly won't be asking for sympathy from anybody because my feelings and the facts have not changed. However, I will ask that you watch this entire video to at least understand my perspective before forming any opinions. In my Google document, I went through everything I had both witnessed and experienced from October 4th, 2023, all the way up to that day of May 31st, 2024, and I made many things known. Because as of June 2024, I have had an allegation surface about me that could permanently disrupt my life, and has already begun to do so, with my mother and brother simultaneously deciding to take a screenshot from the document that was out of context as evidence that I am a horrible person. And judging by the fact that those people took those things from the Google Doc out of context, I assume dozens of others will when they're shown things by people I will be talking about that they know basically next to nothing about, other than the things that are being fed to them by the people who want to throw these accusations at me. Once again, I won't be asking for forgiveness, and I will definitely not paint myself as a victim, because I am still under the firm belief that I am not a victim. This video is purely to put everything together from my perspective with as much as possible from these previous events, so that everyone knows what happened and what I saw. I will not be addressing anything outside of this Google document, but I will be showing extra things relevant to the situation so you guys get a proper grasp on the situation. This is so I can address everything relevant to myself and what's happened in terms of this situation, so I don't have to address it again, and I will also be showing things that have happened as a result of this situation that I feel are unfair in this situation. I understand that by reacting and engaging, that I will be fanning the flames of this. However, not only will I no longer be silent on things I find ridiculous, but I will also not be silent about the biased nature of the fallout that happened as a result of my Google document, as I do feel everything that has happened from June 4th is very biased in regard to my family. Just as a note, I will be going in chronological order as stated before so I can get accurate times and make sure nothing is misplaced. And I have also turned off the likes and comments on this video because I just want this video to be put out so I can log off from this account and do some much needed deep healing. Now, without further ado, let's begin. On October 4th, 2023, at exactly 12:20 AM, I received a message from my friend Turbo, who asked me if the usage of the N-word should be banned. He said this was because of his friend, who was black, who didn't feel comfortable with the fact another black person had said the word. I responded and let him know that whilst I can't speak on this issue because I'm not a person of colour, if a word makes someone uncomfortable, then it should probably not be said. Turbo made the rule around midday at my time, and 7 hours later, the person who used the word called bacon decided to say this. Turbo then went on to say, "Not funny," and other people also agreed with their own reactions. Turbo then says that bacon uses the word a lot and says that they need to stop. My sister then jumps in and Goget also jumps in. Their whole argument then boils down to the fact that they thought a white person was the one who got upset at the usage of the word, and during this conversation, as I neglected to notice and I'll add in here since I'm showing all of you this conversation, Goget makes a point about me using the F word. After Bacon says that people should go after me for saying the F word, I step in and ask if I've said it in that server. Goget says that I did in the general chat, to which I checked, and just to keep things accurate in case I got this wrong, I also checked currently, as you guys can see here through the search function, and I had not said it within the server during that time frame. The conversation continues as my partner sees this and decides to time out Bacon. This was because this whole thing had begun to escalate into the territories of drama, so he took what he thought were the necessary steps to de-escalate. Unfortunately, they did not stop. They started to then say that Bacon was accused of being a racist. Sano then removed the timeout and explained his situation, which corroborates with what I said about wanting to de-escalate the situation, just wording it differently, as you can see. My partner was then accused of being racist by Goget, and then Goget goes on to say that they thought that white people, referring to Turbo and my partner, were crying about racism. After my partner asked if it was a rule violation, which it was, as shown here where it says no drama, which is what this had clearly become, Bacon decided to say that the original thing they posted was a joke, and the narrative was then set in stone that white people were angry over the word being used, and that's when Turbo stepped in and tried to clarify, saying that it was in fact a black person who was upset at the word's usage. Instead, however, Turbo was still accused of being the one who got upset over the word's usage, and after Go Get Crybaby and Bacon started going after my partner again, I decided to step in and ask where Turbo called Bacon a racist because I wanted to know. To which Go Get replied with the prior comment from Turbo, and then Sano and Go Get continued to argue, with Sano asking why Bacon was upset about that if he's as black as he claims. To which Go Get then said that they should play a little game and said Sano was racist. They continue their back and forth until I ask if I could tag the person who wanted the word banned in the server, to which I get the green light, and I ask the person if they were the one who wanted the rule instated and if they were black. The person says that they were, and then Go Get speaks about black communities and says how black people say the word a lot, and if someone were to be in these communities, they would pick the word up. The person who wanted the rule instated then says that they live in one of these communities where people they don't know use that word to harm one another. Go Get then replies again, saying that they've never heard of people from said community they're talking about complaining that much about it as long as it's another black person doing it. They then go on to say that they feel like Bacon was being punished because of their vocabulary, considering it had a word in it that they grew up hearing a lot. Someone named Rockington in the server who commented before then decides to speak up and says that what's happening is people feeding trolls. The people who were accused of this then refute the claim, and the conversation before these people got banned and kicked devolved into posting videos and images saying stuff such as "this video is racist to white people, be careful," and the final image, which was of a Roblox image where someone says "get back to work," with the character painted over to be white when the original image is of a black person. Just showing the original for the sake of transparency on what was edited. Now we move on to the things in my server, since things happened in my server whilst this was going on that I need to correct from my doc. I made the doc in a very emotional state, and I rushed it in places. I am aware of this. So, let's go to the stuff in my server from this situation. So, in my server 8 hours after Turbo made his rule, and after my partner made the comment I will show on screen, Bacon confronted my partner and then showed a photo of them being black. Then the conversation goes to talk about my partner's message, which he reiterates just before that a rule was broken, which is true from everything I have shown at this point. Ghost Prince, who I'll be calling Ghost for the sake of shortness and simplicity, then quotes what my partner said, and after that my partner defended themselves by saying that they pointed out the fact that Bacon said that they were black, and the biggest, in their words, fuck up, was using the wrong pronouns for Bacon. To which Sano says they don't see where they were calling Bacon a liar, and Bacon then says that they never called them a liar despite the conversation beforehand, where Bacon confronted my partner, clearly implying that, as it was taken from one server over to another, due to the fact that my partner had timed out Bacon. To which the conversation once again devolves into talk about things that happened in Turbo's server, with Ghost saying the line, "Humor is subjective." Go Get then steps in after Bacon says they'll take things up with Turbo, to which my partner, who probably had the same mindset as me, thought that it would go back to Turbo's server or be kept out of my server. Go Get then goes on to say that they can read what was said in Turbo's server, which I will assume, by the times on my end, that it meant this string of messages, which I'll show on screen. My partner then goes on to reiterate the entire situation, which I fully agree with since those are the facts of the situation. But after this, Go Get then goes on to explain that they were looking at things from a more human way and proceeds to bring myself in as their example, and then brings up the same argument that they did in Turbo's server, and then, in their words, says that it wasn't a racist thing, it was punishing people on a culture thing. After a few more messages, I step in, and I had discovered that I had neglected to bring in Rule 11 from my old server that was run by my old Discord account over to the new server, since all the rules were from the old server. That rule being to not bring unnecessary drama into the server. After I put this rule in, I honestly thought that people would have enough respect for this rule to not drudge the topic on any longer. Needless to say, I was very wrong. At this time, I was tired of having to see this in my server and I just wanted it gone, which is where I'm going to hold myself accountable in just a second. Go Get replies to my partner and then asked me if Bacon was allowed to say the N-word. Now I want to make it clear that, again, I was tired with this situation. I responded with a screenshot of Rule 2, which was to not say any inappropriate language when I should have used a screenshot of the new rule and not given this the time of day, since it's clear to me now that this was all brought up because these people took an issue with a rule from another server. I assume that, from the conversation that followed, that people, mainly GoGet at this point, were trying to find anything to nitpick on because of Turbo's rule and the fact I had asked in Turbo's server prior if I could tag the person who wanted the rule instated so this whole thing could calm down and de-escalate. Instead of not giving this the time of day, however, I did end up engaging, and I'm sorry to my past and present self for engaging in this because the effect would then go on to cause my friendships to end in a very explosive way. So, GoGet points out that the rule says toward any user and that if it isn't towards anyone, then it doesn't break the rules. They then go on to say that everyone who has said the F slur should be punished in the eyes of that rule. So I play into this and I issue a warning since that was what was being said within what GoGet said. I also punish myself as shown here since I was once again tired of this situation. Ghost then says that they won't comment on the warning, to which GoGet says that I was being hypocritical, to which I ask if I was being hypocritical towards myself, since I did hold myself accountable in that instance as shown before where I punished myself. Then GoGet says that their partner, Galactic/Cass, should not be punished since they said the F slur in reference to GoGet, so they should not be punished. To which I then go on to say that, in the context of the conversation that was held beforehand where I said the F slur, nobody in the server should be punished for using the word. I then ask if there was anyone who was hurt by the usage of the word, and the conversation comes back around to Bacon not being able to use the N-word. To which I say they should take everything up with Turbo, to which GoGet says that they asked if Bacon could say it in my server as a joke, which is something I question given the conversation that was held in my server beforehand, as well as the conversation that was held just after this point, where I was told that I was basing what I did on reaction. To which I go on to point out that this was the same stuff that happened in Turbo server, and I ask if the conversation started there. GoGet says yes and no as their answer. Now I want to make it abundantly clear that, given everything that has happened thus far, this did start in Turbo's server. This only started getting dragged into my server when people started getting timed out for causing drama and breaking the rule pertaining to drama in another server, since this has become people stirring up drama. I then reiterate my response to GoGet after they say the part of my rule started in my server, then going on to say that I'm acting like an idiot after I finally put 2 and 2 together and tell these people again to take their issues up with Turbo. I reiterate that everything that happened in my server was a direct carry-on from Turbo server, to which more things were said from Ghost and GoGet about the whole incident in my server pertaining to my rule, which was a direct carry-on from the conversation about Turbo server, as stated before, was a joke. I disagree and reiterate that, again, the conversation was clearly in reference to Turbo server and the situation that happened in there, to which it was, as I have shown, to which I was told I'm retarded and I time GoGet out, to which I'm told that the next time we go into VC with them, this thing will be a topic because they weren't happy with me. To which I go on to reiterate that I'm fine with them being unhappy with me, to which GoGet says that they're going to yell and that it hurts to yell. I then say that their yelling doesn't bother me and that my previous statement stands. GoGet then says that they don't like rules based on reaction when my rule wasn't based on reaction, and then I reiterate that the rule conversation was still in relation and reference to the Turbo server incident. I also beforehand said that I stood my ground and had already asked people to keep things out of my server in relation to Turbo server, to which my partner has enough, and then GoGet starts saying that going after them is like throwing chum in the water, and that attacking them is like asking for everyone to go for you, which, off topic, given a later thing that I'll touch upon at that time, really shows that these people can attack others, but when people do the same to them or uphold them to their words and abide by their faulty logic like I did when I acted upon what they thought the logic was in regard to everyone saying the F slur, it's apparently not okay. I'll touch more on my feelings about this entire situation after I speak about a very particular thing in relation to Crybaby that ties in with this whole situation that I spoke on in my doc because it's very relevant to the situation. For full transparency, I will show the conversation that happened in my server between my partner, Galactic, Ghost, and GoGet after this point because I do feel it's fair on both parties to see, but right now I don't really have the strength beyond this to really comment on this anymore in terms of the stuff in my server, so I apologize. There is something that I want to add in here real quick, and that's the fact that In a server I'm no longer part of, I saw comments made about my partner calling him sensitive, retarded, etc. I also received this message from Bacon during this whole thing happening where they asked me if they could bully my partner. Now we move on to the DMs with my sister, since this directly relates to a message that I received from Goget after having a fight with them in a server known as Better Minecraft, a server that was made for my Minecraft realm that we all played on. It was a continuation of the things that had happened that night. Whilst I'm unable to provide screenshots at this point because of the fact that I left, I will be bringing up the call that I had with my sister and the things she said during that call that I heeded her advice on. So, after that argument, I had gone to my sister a day later just to vent about the situation because there was a conversation we had regarding the whole situation. I'll be honest, in the situation, we both agreed in the end that the situation was stupid, or in my words, retarded. I went into call with her at around about 7:40 my time and sent her a screenshot with a message I had received from Goget, which was sent to me 19 hours before. The message was that Goget put down an offer to have a talk to resolve issues that we had, and that the offer stood for 2 weeks. Now, in this call, my sister told me to not respond, and in the call, since I failed to elaborate on this, I explained what was said to me beforehand in my server as well as the Better Minecraft server. She agreed with me on my stance of standing up for myself because I was being attacked for a situation that happened in another server. I was advised again not to respond to Goget's message, and I listened to my sister. Note that I also sent her a voice note on an account that I had and still have called Zaylin, where I sent her a voice note explaining things on there as well. So I want to ask a question because I'm genuinely curious. Why is it that people are allowed to stir up pointless drama in servers that have nothing to do with the original problem because they don't like simple server rules being in place that, in my opinion, should have been in place, but it's not okay for me to want things to be kept out of my server because it should not have been in the server? Why is it not okay for me to stand up for myself and tell people to take everything elsewhere? Why is this such a big sin with the people I have fallen out with? I'm truly curious because I noticed within this entire situation that Crybaby also agreed that these people decided to take their anger out on me over someone else's server. At this point, not only do I believe that, but I also believe that from this point forward, these people wanted to start an issue with me for the sake of starting an issue with me in things I'll be talking about that happened in April of 2024. So, on April 14th, 2024, I was in a server with Pigeon, Goget, Galactic, and Ghost. The conversation started between me and Pigeon, but then escalated when the three latter people hopped on in, which then led to far too much for me not to speak on this. Bear in mind that these screenshots came from Ghost themselves after they came to my friend Turbo and tried to say that they didn't know why I was upset with their collective group. So, let's begin. The conversation from these screenshots began with this, where I was commenting on the Pokemon Quaquaval and how gay it was and how much I related to Quaquaval. Galactic jumped in and made a quick comment about how I was a straight woman, which we'll touch upon later because this point really irks me. I said this and then asked right below if I was allowed to say the word in the server Pigeon ran, and they said sure and that they didn't care. That's where this should have ended. It was clear that I was only addressing the server owner, who was Pigeon. Afterwards, however, Goget and Ghost comment on the situation and insert themselves into the situation, which really had nothing to do with them, where the following conversation happened. I saw Ghost saying no, and I said I'd use a different word because I thought this was a joke that was happening, and I didn't understand what was going on until the near end of the conversation. My belief that this was a joke was partially backed up by Pigeon at that time, who said that I couldn't say Stragget, to which I played into what I thought was a joke by saying I'd use the word Traggetry next time. Then Ghost said that they didn't get the appeal of using slurs that didn't apply to me. Now, this is something that Ghost went on to say the next day publicly on Twitter, as you can see here, so please bear with me as I steer off course for 1 second because this has literally annoyed me so much, given the fact that these people who have admitted that they knew I was basically never straight tried to seriously say I was a straight woman. So I'm just going to dive into this so I can get this out of the way. I have never been straight. My relationship that has been policed and called straight is just factually not straight. Both of us identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community, and at the very least, my history of being both bisexual and then later on gay has been shown publicly many times, including when I came out as non-binary in 2020 in August on one of my oldest known Twitter accounts, which I have since left, called fucking Brutal1. Being a trans woman is being part of the queer umbrella. My partner being bisexual comes under the queer umbrella, and the LGBTQ plus community and my relationship, as classed by both of us, the people who it pertains to and concerns, is queer. Not straight like these people wish to say. It's sickening to me that people have decided to adopt this culture on policing on what people can and cannot say in the queer community based on relationships alone, because that's what it seems to have boiled down to at this point, and it is disgusting. Anyways, sorry for the tangent. I know that wasn't very professional, so let's just move on with the conversation. The conversation continues where Ghost says that I asked if I could say the F slur, and then Ghost gave their opinion, despite the fact that the original conversation and question was clearly asked to Pigeon. And then the conversation derails for a bit into me posting about Splatoon and Springfest, as well as all of the other special Splatfests, and during this time, GoGet starts posting GIFs. I don't have any screenshots of this, but I do have ones in my server that corroborate with what I'm saying here. I literally have no reason to lie at this point when I know what I saw and know what I'm about to show. So, after I post this image, which I found on the internet, I compared the mask Big Man was wearing during Frosty Fest to the Grindr logo. Now, just as a quick side note, I do want to credit the artist who posted this on Reddit, whose name is Shay Mera. I think that the art is stunning, and the other two pieces alongside this that I recently found through that Reddit post really shows off the talent of this person that made the art. Anyways, back to the conversation. The conversation goes in the direction of saying that Grindr was an app for, in Galactic's italicized words, gay men, which is factually untrue, and I said that, from my experience in 2019, I saw trans women on the app and shared the knowledge that trans women also use the app, to which Galactic then says the same reason why a straight woman wants to have the pass, to which I see this and then go on to address this point blank to their face by reiterating that, again, I have identified as a gay person for my entire life up until the end of 2022. To which Galactic says that I apparently made it seem like me being a gay stereotype was why I should have any sort of pass, when the conversation before had literally nothing to do with that bar the beginning where I asked Pigeon if I could say the word, to which he, as I showed before, said sure and that he did not care. To which I then see this message from Ghost that says, and I quote, "That's because, to my knowledge, you've identified as a gay/queer for the majority of your life. Why care about someone using slurs that apply to them? I sincerely do not give a fuck about what you do or what you say. It's a reflection of you, not me. However, you asked, I gave my opinion." Clearly it's not some huge issue, as I have no issues with Pigeon saying them, but I don't know their orientation either. Anyway, you would have known our opinion on the matter if you cared enough to remain friend/friendly with us. As is, your group isn't going to oppose you, as I'm sure you're aware. This is the statement that pointed out to me that these people didn't consider me a friend after the October 4th incident. Given everything I have shown up to this point, it's pretty clear that residual feelings stuck around, and that this conversation between myself and Pigeon ended up being something that Ghost, Galactic, and GoGet were quick to jump in on to try and get a rise out of me. To which, when I responded with the standing man emoji and then replied with the fact that this was clearly a lot of emotion, and that I was not going to read that at the current time, comments about my book started being made. Specifically, Ghost saying, "Wrote a book but can't read." To which I replied with, "I don't read things that don't apply to me," and then left the server. Afterwards, I messaged Pigeon with a courtesy message letting him know that I had left the server because I didn't want things to escalate, because I knew that it would inevitably happen again. Then, later in my own server, more stuff happened. This time mainly between myself and GoGet. In my server, I posted this, which was about a screenshot of Pearl and Marina in their Splatoon 3 Springfest outfits. To which, after I said this, GoGet decided to start posting GIFs in response to the conversation. GIFs that had nothing to do with the conversation. I responded at first because I didn't know why a cry about it GIF was used in the conversation, to which they decided to then, after explaining that they were just clicking on one of their GIFs, proceeded to then go on and say domain expansion infinitely bitchless, which I presume and still assume was directly at myself. Then the conversation continued with a GIF saying skill issue, to which I joked lightly about the GIF because I didn't want to take things too seriously at this point in my server, because I knew that it would be used against me to gaslight me into thinking nothing had happened. The conversation continued between me and Turbo for a bit before Galactic joined in and defended their partner, saying that they were living proof that GoGet, J, was not bitchless, to which I responded with a cat picture. GoGet then jumps in again and posts this GIF, which I respond again with the fact that I ask, and then GoGet says that I forgot about all the other parts, to which I respond saying that I don't care about those parts since it was my server. GoGet posts a fatherless GIF, to which I respond, and then the conversation changes to me apparently projecting, to which I state that that's what these people have been doing for the past 6 months, which I 100% stand by the way. GoGet tries to say that they haven't thought about me in 6 months, which I firmly do not believe given everything that has happened, to which I finally banned them. Ghost and Galactic after standing up for myself in my server. Now, just for transparency, because I did include this in my Google Doc originally, yes, I was tweeting it during the situation that occurred, and yes, those tweets were about these people, about my experience. I asserted my boundaries in October by reinstating Rule 11, and this was not respected by these people. When I respect myself enough to assert these boundaries into my life, which, as a note again, was always meant to be in the server, I just forgot to bring it over from my old server, and then people don't respect these boundaries, it gets really triggering. Throughout the October incident and throughout this incident up until this point, I set my boundaries in place and did not have them respected by the very people I thought would care enough to respect them. It hurts, but I'll get over it. I do have one more thing to mention here, and that's a bit after I removed GoGet, Galactic, and Ghost from my server. I got a message from Pigeon, and I want to clarify firstly why I removed Ghost and Galactic from my server along with GoGet. This was because my intuition and gut were telling me that the pair of them would kick off along with GoGet. I didn't want the situation to escalate in my server, and I knew if I kept them in my server that they would kick off about GoGet's ban and try to gaslight me into thinking that I was in the wrong and removing the ban. Now, the messages that Pigeon sent were also an attempt to paint me out to be the instigator in the situation. I responded and went back and forth with Pigeon, but I was so tired at this point that I didn't really give any proper responses after the first 2 responses, I believe. I'll show it up on screen so you can read through them. I do remember one particular thing that I do still stand by, however, where I said that these people were like a hive mind. I stand by this 100%, and there is nothing that can convince me otherwise from what I have seen, shown, and experienced. I ended up blocking Pigeon after they jumped in my replies on Twitter, and that's the end of this little part, and I also blocked them on Discord after it was clear to me that they just wanted entertainment from this situation. Just as a little note that I do want to address, as this was included in my doc originally and I don't know where exactly to place it, but in terms of that day as well, I noticed that GoGet had said this, and I know that it was directed at Turbo since I've been in my relationship since 2020. I have not had a breakup online ever. To which I have to add that the situation pertaining to that one is one where Turbo's former partner was caught planning to cheat on Turbo with a 17-year-old when they turned 18. I was in call pretty much the second it was revealed, and I immediately told Turbo to break up with Wing because of what was revealed, and I was there in the situation supporting Turbo in the decision that he did end up going with in terms of taking up my advice. Right after I knew that they had officially ended things, I went into call with GoGet and I believe Pigeon and a few other people. No, I say I think because I can't remember the other people that were in the call, truly besides GoGet, where I let them know that this was happening. So I know exactly why this was brought up, and it corroborates my statement in my doc about these people holding Turbo's previous relationship over his head. As far as things go with Wing, the only people really speaking about that person now are my former friend group and myself, because it keeps being brought up by these people and I'm having to clarify exactly what happened and how this relates to the situation. So, we move forward to April 24th, 2024, where the next thing happened for me at least. I get sent a screenshot of Pigeon tracing my art, and in a video that I'll be including that I chose to save privately. You can clearly see that this was indeed traced. In this moment, I knew that they wanted me to respond. It was clearly the only reason they even traced my art to begin with, and I want to apologize to myself for making that tweet that I did. Because these people know what they did was wrong, and they still continue to do these things regardless. So, I made my tweet and people saw the obvious tracing. I want to clarify before this gets rebutted that I did not claim to create the concept of pointy ponies like GoGet tried to say in defense of the tracing. I simply asked a question and showed that my piece of art, which was a pointy pony, was traced. I asked if this was plagiarized, specifically, and I should have said this instead of what I said to be more precise, visual plagiarism. To which I saw that GoGet decided to reply underneath pretty much everyone who agreed with me, saying plagiarism is writing, not art, to which I had to add onto my tweet with a miniature thread about how I learned about the subject of visual plagiarism in both 2020 and 2022/2023, where I went to study for my art and design course. It was a topic in one of my 2 essays that I had to write 2,000 words on, and it was one of the most informative experiences I have ever been through. After I made that statement, I had alternative accounts that I can only speculate were made by Ghost, Galactic, or Pigeon, and I 100% stand by this due to a fiasco that happened just after this. I also want to add that Pigeon did come to a part of my post explaining the visual plagiarism and decided to screenshot my words that I said to Ghost, to which I responded saying that a piece of art that Pigeon had traced in the screenshots I am showing you was an abomination. I do need to address this since I wasn't on about Ghost's original art. I was on about the traced over version that Pigeon had made. I don't know what Ghost's art truly looks like past 1 or 2 interactions where they showed their art and I don't really remember. My wording was about the tracing, not about the original art piece. So, about 1 day after this, my sister and I fell out. I wish I didn't have to speak on this, but after I saw her attacking my partner publicly for no reason, I messaged her privately telling her not to attack my partner. Her exact words were, "I'll go for whoever I like for whatever reason I like. Whether you like it or not does not cross my mind," to which I blocked her on Discord and said that she could come to me when she apologized for attacking my partner for absolutely nothing. Bear in mind that I left my Steam, Facebook Messenger, Twitter, and WhatsApp open for her. I let 5 people know that we weren't on speaking terms, those being Turbo, my partner, Flutterio, my brother, and my mother. I really tried to keep things private, and for the sake of clarification and transparency, after I saw that other people were also attacking my partner, I made a tweet half an hour later about those people, not my sister. I can certainly see how it looks, but the reason for that tweet was made was not about my sister attacking my partner. It was aimed towards everyone else who was attacking him. Nevertheless, she either took this tweet the wrong way, or the people it was actually aimed at told her that it was about her, because around 20 minutes later I see this on my timeline. Cutting off a family member for not liking an annoying fag on the internet is such a good way of handling things, instead of, I don't know, dealing with it like the fucking adult you are. Sis, I don't owe you shit. The fact you so strongly can't tolerate my opinion on some prick to the point you cut me off entirely just goes to show how fragile a bond you felt to me. If your only response to the problems that you start is to run away from them, it's just a testament to how little self-reflection skills you have. You're not the one who's in the right, or owed an apology, or whatever bullshit you might say to swerve around the fact that you were incapable of holding yourself accountable. Might I just add that this bout of temper tantrum started because you got butthurt that you were being attacked after getting a response to your question that you unfortunately didn't like, and in the span of then till now you still have not gotten over it. While I'm not so quite pathetic as to give a fuck about that at all, much like GoGet and Ghost who literally never cared, you clung to this and started making passive-aggressive tweets throwing shade at them because you cannot stand things going your way. And about Sano, I don't like him. I hate him. I don't believe that you have any position to stop me from expressing this. I don't care if it hurts your feelings. What hurts mine is that you're going to overreact again and cut me out of your life because of it. I will say this knowing full well I'm expecting too much of you, Cosmic, being who you are and all. But I believe entirely that, in opposition to what you said, you owe me an apology. I have stayed out of this because I honestly don't care that you're upset about not being able to reclaim slurs. But blocking me because I said something that so unfortunately isn't me sucking up and stepping down from what I believe is pathetic. It just goes to show how little you cared about me if it was that easy to remove me. I don't care to reconcile until I get my apology. If by some miracle you actually read this, Farah, good job for blowing yet another situation out of proportion, and have fun acting innocent some more. So, to speak my mind on this, I'll show you the quote tweet that I made in response to this on screen so you can know exactly what I meant in each point and know exactly how I feel right now before I move on to what else happened. So, when I spoke about the 2020 situation, I firmly believed, and pretty much still do, that the last part was referencing the situation involving myself getting kicked out of my mother's house in 2020 and being ostracized by my mother's family. Everything I said regarding having next to nobody rings 100% true. When I was kicked out, I had nobody and was made to feel as if I was the instigator in a situation that honestly was not my fault, given the fact that I was freshly 18 and the whole argument in my household between myself and the people who owned the house at the time were taking a small issue such as mispronouncing a word into attacking me and saying that I was just like my father. The father who was 23 and my mother who was 15 and the one who got her pregnant with me. I added this up in my head a little after the situation back in 2020 and have to live with the fact that I was a result of not only pedophilia but also rape. In regard to the comment about opinions, that still indeed holds true. I knew that my sister had her opinions regarding the situation, as shown here where I tried to bring up and see how she felt about the situation, so I knew if I could come to her with my thoughts, and she said that she had seen everything and didn't wish to discuss it with me. That was fine for me, and I respected that up until she attacked my partner. As for the additional things I wish to say in regard to owing her an apology, that I don't believe that I owe her an apology for this situation. The reason is because in this situation, the facts of the situation are clear, and she had avenues of contact to reach me through, those being my Steam, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and probably more now that I think about it. In this screenshot, she claims on one of her other accounts that I removed her because I was so eager, to which I have to respond with, "You were so eager to jump in and to attack my partner, and also so eager to side with my former friends despite them tracing my art, harassing me on alts, which we'll get to in a second, and as of most recently impersonating me and twisting something into me not caring if you killed yourself, which we'll also get to. If you want my opinion, since I respected yours up until you defended the things I mentioned, I find it sick and twisted that I'm supposed to put up with you defending this disgusting shit, but not expected to protect my peace and defend both myself and my partner. I should not have to deal with this, and it's not only disgusting, but sad, disappointing, and upsetting. And you wonder why I overreacted in your words and blew another situation out of proportion in your words. In our conversations, you were aware that I did suffer signs of PTSD from back in 2022 that I'll touch on when we get there. So saying that in particular was going to make me upset given the fact that it was not needed. It was only there to hurt. Now, during the hours going through to the 26th of April, I ended up having 2 alt accounts replying to me which were clearly Ghost or Galactic. One of which stuck out to me, and that was this one on screen. Seeing this in present day, I can most certainly believe that this was directly meant to break me down, and all these attacks have done is make me more resilient to stuff in the future. Hence why, after this, I didn't really engage with any of this past this tweet that was screenshotted by Goget that accuses me of being a narcissistic, self-righteous asshole, to which I have to say this. If me being a narcissist is me having a platform where I can express how I feel about unfair and unjust things that were basically wholly started from your side, then yes, I am a narcissist, and thank you for realizing this. Instead of accusing me of narcissism, maybe take a look at your own actions throughout the situation and put time toward growth. But I guess I'm expecting too much, since you will always consider yourself to always be right and always correct, despite the situation saying otherwise to many, many people. Now we move on to May. In May, exactly May the 12th, I saw this on my timeline from Rebel Dragon, aka Spanish Giovanni, who tweeted out, "Jesus Christ, what did I wake up to?" where Rebel showed screenshots of these people impersonating me. to which I reached out privately and replied under publicly because I felt if I didn't do this, then people would think that I was the one who was saying those things in the screenshots, which were awful things. To which I want to bring up a thread that GoGet later then made, along with something that they also brought out to the public as well. In their tweet thread, they go on to say that I had this need to victimize myself, to which I need to correct the record and state that I am 100% not a victim. I don't consider myself to be a victim and have, to my recollection, never called myself a victim. Instead of shoving words into my mouth and twisting the things I say to fit your narrative, focus on reflection, because if you have this need to make me seem like a victim, that means that you were capable of acknowledging your actions to have been harmful to those around you. I need to reiterate that once again, I am not the victim. But I will not accept people trying to say I'm victimizing myself in this entire situation when I know what I saw and what I witnessed. There's no victimization in this. There's the facts of the situation and nothing more. So now that I've reiterated this, let's compare the screenshots that were made by Crybaby to the screenshots Rebel posted. Now, bear in mind that whilst I can't pull them up, we can see what will prove my point. In terms of Crybaby's screenshots, you can clearly tell, regardless of if I had the actual screenshots or not, that the font in the fake screenshots from back in what I would assume to be 2022 is clearly different from the standard Discord font, and you can clearly tell that the screenshots are inconsistent. You can also see in the next screenshot that was provided by GoGet that was about Pigeon that the screenshots in this clearly shows things that are ironically out of context. Whilst I cannot access the entire conversation, I can provide my recollection of that event, and it was a joke between myself, Crybaby, and Pigeon as far as I recall. I definitely remember Pigeon laughing along, and I definitely remember it being an inside joke between the three of us. That's what I recall. I know I can't provide screenshots of the entire conversation, but I have, again, literally no reason to lie about this, and I think it would be foolish of me to lie, since it would damage me more if I lied, and I'm very aware of this, which is why, throughout this entire thing, I have stayed truthful to what I believe to be the absolute maximum, and have tried to show as much as humanly possible at this point. The difference between these screenshots that GoGet provided and the ones that Rebel provided is not only that did I consent to these screenshots that my sister made, but everyone around myself knew in 2022 when those screenshots were made by my sister that it was a joke, meaning that nobody could get the impression that these screenshots were actually myself and Pigeon, whereas the ones from 2024 that Rebel provided show that I did not have knowledge about, didn't consent to these screenshots being made, and there was a very real possibility that those who did not know about the situation would have believed those screenshots. Me defending myself is not me trying to victimize myself. It is me trying to correct the record and trying to make sure that this misinformation isn't spread about me. To expect me to just sit here and allow this to be spread about me is wild, and it corroborates my statement that GoGet made where they said that they might decide to ruin my attempts to build something later. Their words, not mine. Now I want to touch on something that was kept privatized until now. So in terms of Crybaby, I had 2 games that I let her borrow that I wanted it back. They were Pikmin 1+2 for the Switch and Super Mario Advance 2 Super Mario World. I messaged her on WhatsApp through an old group the pair of us were in and asked her to give me back my games. In the screenshot, I believe I only asked for one of them back, but in the Discord groups I'm about to show, I also included the second one that I had forgotten to originally, include. Unfortunately, in the WhatsApp group, I didn't get a response. I was at peace with this originally until I saw a tweet from her where she said, "This is what a liar looks like," and attached pictures of my book as well as the first part of my thread that I talked about back when me and her fell out. Now, to add context, Crybaby reached out to me via YouTube in October of 2020 when we got back in contact through that. The video she commented on since has been deleted by me because I have had several moments of wanting to clean up my channel, and the one she commented on was one of those. I added her into my dedication for my first book, which was Persistence's Key 01 Beginnings, and I also signed and added an extra message, which you can see here. When I say thanks for 2020, I mean October through to December of 2021. So October 2020 through to December of 2021. I gave her a copy of my book for Christmas, and, along with other things that I have been told by my own family on June 4th, 2024 about my book, I can tell that this was a mistake in terms of gifting her a copy of my book, because it's clear to me that these people were being fake in front of my face and that I was the gullible fool that fell for it. If you don't like my creative projects, tell me when I first bring it up to you so I don't have to sit here under a false belief that you cared about it when you clearly didn't. Sorry, I got emotional because I've been seeing my book getting dragged through the mud over these last 2 months by people who honestly don't know a thing about the book and who haven't read it. So, after I see this tweet, I quote tweet it, reiterating that the main thing I took issue with was the fact that my partner was being attacked out of nowhere during that night, which is the reason why I ended up removing her and cutting her from my life. In my thread as well, I write, and then I start to add things up in my head about the fact that I was being accused of starting everything, yet what I had seen from all parties had showed me otherwise. After making that quote tweet into a mini thread because I was offloading my thoughts, I had gotten so sick of this, given the fact that I was accused earlier by Crybaby to have not given her a chance to resolve things, that I went through my Discord and right off the bat found not 1, not 2, but 3 group chats. 2 that I left voice messages and basically saying, here's a place where we can resolve things like you wanted me to. The final one, I decided to type out a message and I said, oh look, another GC that we're in that you could have come to me in, but no, apparently you don't have any ways to resolve things with me. To which I added my main account into the group because it was the only one of the 3 that wasn't in on my main account, and I said that the least that could have been done is to give me my stuff back. To which I'm told that she didn't want to resolve things with me and to shut up multiple times, and I honestly got sick of the attitude that was being presented toward me, because I began holding her to her words and saying that unless she had an update regarding my stuff, that she should shut up. I got petty because I felt as if whenever I was trying to get clarity on anything from her, that it was being dismissed by her. So, I used her own words against her at this moment because I was sick of it. I was then accused of trying to get her angry, to which I reiterated that I wanted my stuff back. After I did this, she replied to herself to the message that I assume was the "this isn't shutting up," to which I screenshotted my own message and sent it across and said that she was the one who was going on Twitter and chatting shit about me. To which, out of nowhere, she decides to post the screenshot where she had attacked my partner. This was brought out of nowhere. Nowhere in this conversation was my partner mentioned, and I find it ridiculous that I was expected to just sit there and accept such a petty attitude. After she left, I commented to myself with this because that's how I did and do still feel. I then moved on over to the second group chat and I say that there was no need to bring up things that were irrelevant to the current conversation and requested that she be the adult that she claimed that I wasn't being. She left after saying, "you first," and then I moved on over to the final group where I asked if she was going to hold herself to her own standards, and underneath the same screenshot I used to directly point out that if she didn't want to resolve things with me, then I wouldn't have basically have been on her mind constantly like I seemingly was. To which she screenshots my message from the first group chat, and I again tell her to be the adult she claims I won't be. As of the time of this recording, I have yet to receive either of my games, and whilst I don't think that's okay, I am at peace with the possibility of never seeing my property given to me, and I've since started taking steps to gather the money to replace these items. After this, the thing I made the doc about, originally, which is here's to another situation that's been blown out of proportion, was said, and we're going to get into that. So, May 16th, 2024, GoGet decides to say this. Y'all remember when Cosmic said this about her sister almost self-deleting? Which was followed by this on May 21st, 2024, where GoGet then said that I acted like my sister wanting to off herself was a chore. This really irks me because this screenshot has been taken out of context and now my own mother and brother have disowned me because of this. I will be outlining what happened on that day with a screenshot that I was able to recover through my DMs with my partner where I vented about the situation. So, on November 5th, 2022, Crybaby and myself hung out in our town and went to a milkshake place at the bottom of our town. I took a picture of it, which I will show here, that has Crybaby censored in case I'm suddenly accused of doxing people from these people, and after we had the milkshake, we parted ways for the day and went home. She went home on her bus, and I went home on mine. During this, I was posting in a WhatsApp group chat, and my mother decided to say this after I had been told by my mother that I apparently agreed to come out to hers with something that was happening in her town. To which I vented in my DMs to Crybaby, and just for full disclosure, On the deleted Discord account, which I cannot access, I remember sending either voice notes or a video that was pitch black of me breaking down because of the comment that was made. Do I stand by the fact that I think that what my mother said was vile and nasty? Absolutely. 100%. I will not take it back because it was. In my DMs, Crybaby and I discussed very personal things revolving around the topic of suicide, which I wish, again, that I didn't have to out, because now I'm having to breach both her privacy and my privacy for the sake of making sure that lies that are spun about me are nipped in the bud. We were both upset, and we talked to each other about our feelings. Nowhere in this conversation that I have access to through my Zaylin account was there ever any talk about my sister wanting to kill herself. Bear in mind that, again, my old Discord account is deleted at this point, and I am unable to fully recollect everything from those conversations from the 5th of November 2022 to the 7th of November 2022 from that account because I don't have access to that account. I also want to point out that me and my sister were talking about someone saying that they'd kill themselves. Judging from everything I have gathered from when I made my doc, I assumed that this was about my mother because it was the only thing that made sense. I don't have concrete evidence for this one way or another in relation to her specifically saying this, so this will be the only thing that I retract until I find proof one way or another, that being if it was or wasn't said. The other claims, however, are things that I have 100% proof of, as shown beforehand. I thought I was doing a nice thing by offering to still come out to my mother's despite not having any knowledge of this, and clarifying later in the same group chat that I and Crybaby actually didn't agree to something like she claimed, to which it was thrown back in my face with the comment about her seeing me and my siblings when we remembered that she existed. That's the final conclusion I can reach from this because I lack access to the stated before my old account, and I want to say that I am well aware that more stuff that I no longer have access to will probably be leaked and twisted to fit narratives, and I want to say right now to both myself and the people watching that I will not be addressing those things if they do come out. I don't want to have to sacrifice my mental or emotional well-being for the sake of entertaining what these people is just internet drama, since what I'm about to reveal is something that has happened as of June 4th, 2024, and something that has had very real effects on myself and my real life. Just as a quick note, slipping this in here, I received a screenshot from Turbo and I want to point it out. So, on the 21st of May, I believe Black Shadow entered my new Discord server on a new Discord account that was removed almost instantly after Turbo saw this. I was asleep during this, otherwise I would have done it myself. Turbo let Ghost know about this, and I know why. It was because Black Shadow is obviously a predator, as I've shown before, so Turbo wanted to spread awareness about the recent thing. However, the comment that Ghost made in response had me questioning what exactly they're implying me to be. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they think I'm just a shitty person, because Black Shadow is a shitty person. But I can't lie, I immediately thought upon receiving this, before I, took some time and looked at it and sort of gave it the benefit of the doubt, that I was basically being accused of being a predator, which is just very, very wrong on multiple levels. Just needed to slip this in here before we continue, because I wanted to address it. So, as the final thing that I will be addressing, I do want to say that this part is way more personal than anything before, since it pertains to my own family members who, from what I gathered, I assume, saw one screenshot from my sister that she sent to my brother, who then sent it to my mother, and now my mother's side of the family probably believes that I am a sick person who doesn't care about someone's suicide attempts that, as discussed before, was never discussed with me as far as I can tell and see from the DMs that I have access to. So just content warning, because during this situation, whilst it was happening literally live in my, life after my stream, I'll go into it, but there's mentions of and very detailed explanations of what I was going to do to end my life. So content warning for that. Now, from 1 to 2 p.m. British Standard Time, sorry, I always get that word wrong, Greenwich Mean Time, on the 4th of June 2024, I streamed the third part of my Twilight Princess HD Let's Play, where I made my way to Death Mountain, and it honestly was a great stream. I loved doing that stream. However, right after that stream, I checked my phone and saw this message, which I'll read out loud. Done. You just can't stop bringing up shit and failing to mention the nasty shit you do, mocking Dead Name for being suicidal and still trying to make it all about you. We are no longer on speaking terms. I will not be dragged through this shit every time you want some drama. See you when you get over yourself. To which I responded by linking the doc because it was clear to me that she had seen a fraction of the document out of context and had decided to cut me off without even asking me where it was from or looking into the document herself with the assumption that I had done this awful stuff. So I tried messaging her to defend myself, but I assumed that I was blocked because the ticks weren't doubled. Basically, on WhatsApp, whenever you send something to someone, it usually goes from 1 tick, meaning sent, to 2 ticks, meaning delivered, and then 2 blue ticks to show that the person has seen it. I also noticed that the group chat that we shared along with my brother only had me and Crybaby in, to which I then checked my main Discord, and I assume from, the fact that it said, send friend request, that I was at least unfriended by my brother on my main. Then I checked my Zaylin account and saw this, which I'm going to read out loud. I'm not interested in making false pretenses. I want nothing to do with you. Making an 89-page document about resolved family conflicts, demonizing everyone except yourself, is fucking disgusting. Let alone dedicating 5 pages to belittling and downplaying our sister's suicide attempt and blaming it on our mother. I have no sympathy for you anymore. I am sick of you publicizing shit like this to all your shady internet friends. Do something with your life. And don't bring up that shitty MLP fanfic that you wrote. It's dog shit. Which, by the way, was talking about my book. Once again. That has nothing to do with any of this. But people bring it up anyway. We went back and forth, and despite me saying that I was not in the right headspace to listen to voice notes, the only thing I got back in text was to shut the fuck up and listen. To which I said that it would be best if we parted ways if me defending myself was not allowed. And I assume I was blocked, and for full transparency, I have since closed those DMs and haven't listened to the voice notes, because even now I'm not really in the right headspace to even try listening to them. In fact, I blocked my brother and mother because of my feelings, of which I'll talk about in this next little thing. Then I messaged in the group chat that me and Crybaby shared, and this is when I came to my conclusion. I also just want to point out that my reservation of this being planned in Crybaby's part, because I posted my stream schedule during the weekend, and my doc at this point had been out since Friday the 31st of May, 2024. I believe that this was an attempt to try and make me break down during me streaming. I have to say I'm very, very lucky that I didn't check my phone for the second half of the stream at all. In the stream, I kept thinking it was vibrating, so I kept checking it every so often. I think that it was believed that I was going to go on for longer in terms of streaming, which I was half tempted to do, but I felt like I had gotten far enough in the game, so I called it quits for the stream that day, and I'm very lucky that I did. During this, I also sent an email to my mother through the email she used to contact me in 2021, and sent her the doc through there, and parted ways with her and wished her well. I admitted in that email that I was very, very close to doing something ridiculous to myself, which is basically me saying I am very close to killing myself because of this. I quite literally, throughout the majority of this, after my stream had ended and I started seeing these messages, got a bottle of bleach that I still do have in my room, and I brought it to my desk and got a glass that I had on my bookshelf that I grabbed and sat down at my desk with, and I was ready to basically pour it in, drink, pour it in, drink, pour it in, drink, until I was dead. The only thing at this point that saved me was the action plan that my partner came up with, as well as the comfort that my partner and a few others gave to me during this situation. I'm not going to reveal the plan, as I don't want to reveal it to people who will probably try and stop it, but I will say one thing that I heard from a very close friend during a call said to me that rang so true that I broke down on the spot in that call. When they said it, snap, my fucking brain just kind of broke down at that point. The thing that they said to me is that it seems to them that whenever I was in these family situations, I would always have things thrown at me and I would always be ostracized from the family. But whenever people needed something, they'd act like they were sorry for what they had done to get me to help them out for whatever issues they were going through at the time. Honestly, given everything that I've witnessed on the 4th of June 2024, I do deeply agree with this sentiment that my friends shared with me in terms of how they perceived the situation to be, because it was what I was feeling at the time, and it felt like they and my partner were the only ones who truly understood how I felt in terms of seeing it before. I have spoken to other people about the situation privately, but both my partner and his friends of mine have been with me since 2020. They have seen this play out before. My conclusion to all this in regard to my family is that, unfortunately, they have decided to believe a screenshot at face value that was very clearly taken out of context, and I'm at peace with the fact that no matter what I say, I will eventually be labeled as some kind of monster who does disgusting shit. I've had it happen from my teen years all the way up till now, and during the 2020 situation, I kind of lost all true tears because this has happened before, which is why in my email I said that I was abandoned for a second time. I'm numb to my family not giving a shit, and being numb to something is worse than crying, in my opinion. It shows a repeated pattern of behavior from people who've hurt you and who have worn you down to the point of being unable to let any emotion out. In instances like this, nowadays, I tend to find that my body repels it so strongly that if something happens, my first thought is to shut down and consider killing myself, because my body and mind doesn't want to have to deal with anything that is happening in that moment. So thank you again to my partner and my friends who were there, who comforted me, and thank you for the person who, talked to me, who helped me get my emotions out in that point. Honestly, I'm not happy with myself about the fact that my body and mind likes to go instantly to killing itself. And I have tried to allow myself to feel emotions during these last 4 years from 2020 to 2024 to, in my mind, I guess, because this is how I perceive it, to repair myself. That's how, again, I see it. But I find now that it only happens in rare instances, like the call I had with my friend, which I mentioned just before this, which I suppose is better than nothing, and it does show progress, but it is still far from where I want to be. And I still have a long road ahead of me in terms of repairing my mental and emotional health, if you get what I mean. After this video is released, I will be taking some time to myself. I am afraid of streaming right now in case something else sets me off during stream, because for the last few streams I've had a great time and then come back to sadness and upset. Despite what has been said by people who've never read my books, I will be continuing work on Persistence is Key 2, which will have the subtitle Perspectives, when I am able to. And the last thing I want to say is thank you to everyone who supported me throughout all of this. It truly means more than you know, and I'm grateful for everyone who stood by me. I truly hope this ends, and I really hope I can heal from this. I won't be responding to anything, further, like I said before, and I will be asking that people do not send me stuff or tag me and stuff, because I know how my mind works. Once it knows something, it will panic. So this is my one request, if anything. My last thing is, thank you for watching.